So I wasn't exactly sure if I was going to do a review on this or not, but look, here I am. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick and this is my review of Kong Skull Island. So the first thing that I'm going to say when it comes to this movie is a complaint, because there are a few things to complain about in this movie. Primarily, the main problem for me is that this movie was just shallow. The entire time it felt like it had this essence of depth, but it never quite got there. We never really learned who the characters were. We never really got introduced to any interesting thematic ideas. More so, this movie was just focused on the action. And look, inherently, there is nothing wrong with that. I think that this is the perfect movie for the casual moviegoer who is just going for a good fun time and not much else. And again, the one thing that I really wish the movie got into more of were the main characters, because we never really learned who these characters were. We never truly met them. And I think that this was mostly due to the fact that there were just a whole lot of people in this movie. There were probably too many people, because you couldn't really focus on any of them as a main character. You couldn't really focus on them heavily. Arguably though, the main focus is really on Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, but John Goodman makes an appearance, Samuel L. Jackson, a few other people that I don't quite know the names of, but it's like, hey, that guy, I know that guy from something, and I like them all. And that's another thing that I do have to comment about all of these characters, that they are likable and they all do good jobs, the actors I mean. You know, Tom Hiddleston comes off as like a badass kind of guy, like he's supposed to, but he didn't really have any personality and nobody else really did either. I don't think that this was really acting issues though. They all did a good enough job, but the writing behind them just wasn't that strong. It was really competent, it was good enough, but it didn't really bring any complexity, maturity, or anything like that to it. And so yeah, basically from here, the entire movie is just based on this large ensemble cast. And there's a whole lot of cool, kind of clever dialogue between them, and it's all just kind of fun. There's no deep quotes here, nothing philosophical or memorable or anything. It's kind of quips and jokes and just fun. But you know what? Even though we didn't see enough of the human characters, I do have to say that this movie did a really good job of how much it showed Kong. As much as I really liked Godzilla from 2014, my one complaint from that movie was that it kept hiding him away. It kept opening up fights and then going to those stupid news things on the TV, and it kept going to people's reactions rather than showing the fight, and it was really frustrating. Yeah, Kong Skull Island doesn't really do that. You definitely get to see what Kong looks like. You get a good look at him. But what I also will say is that I don't think that you see too much of him. It's not an abundant use of him. They do hold back just enough that that mystery is kind of kept behind him. His presence is just at least that little bit shocking every time he's revealed. I mean, it's not like that shocking. It's not like you're shitting yourself every time he comes onto the screen. It's not like you're gonna fly out of your seat in like fear or anything, but you did still kind of get that sense of this being a monster, something to fear. And regarding Kong, I just have to say that this movie has fantastic visuals, especially when you consider the designs and everything of the monsters. And speaking of the fantastic visuals, I just have to say that this movie actually had a surprising amount of visual craft behind it all in terms of like camera technique and everything like that. It really did look like this movie was cared for in terms of visuals. And I think that this was probably most due to the ambitious sort of director. He's pretty much only known for doing like one thing, and at that he's not really known for that because this is a very underrated movie. It's called The Kings of Summer, which is basically kind of like an art house indie sort of movie. It's really small. I personally love it, and you can definitely see that this director came from there, even though this is a completely different sort of movie. Something else that I really loved about this movie is that it held this sort of horror aspect for at least a little bit of it in regards to the humans compared to the monsters. Like, when you see the monsters killing these people, it is kind of intense and kind of horrifying. It really did feel like the people were in kind of a hopeless situation, and these monsters were something to fear. However, something to really kind of compromise this theme is that the PG-13 type of violence was pretty prevalent throughout the entire thing. You know, it kept cutting away, it kept not really showing the graphic side of the people's deaths when their deaths were supposed to be horrible. I think that it came off as a little bit censored, but that being said, not too much, because I actually was surprised that the suggested violence was a bit worse than I thought it would be. Like, there's this one part where a guy gets picked up by like pterodactyl type dinosaur things and they pretty much rip him apart, and the actual shot is silhouetted, so you don't see any like graphic details, but his screams are like horrifying. And then speaking of these kind of horrifying moments and the violence not exactly matching up, I just have to talk about the overall tone of this movie. It was kind of confused. As much as I appreciate comedic moments, some of the jokes and quips and all that sort of stuff in this movie felt very out of place. Like, it constantly felt like the movie just stopped for a second to tell this joke, and the movie kept kind of bending over backwards trying to get the fun aspect, trying to get the horror aspect, trying to get the funny aspect. It did kind of feel feel like Kong couldn't quite decide what it wanted to be. But really, at its heart, Kong is just a fun popcorn flick. This is just a casual sort of movie which is very entertaining while you watch it, but it doesn't really have much emotional weight and it doesn't really have you invested. This movie's really made for explosions and for monster fights, but ultimately it was largely forgettable. I don't think that Kong Skull Island is gonna be remembered as a classic, but it could just be that one step further to seeing that Godzilla vs. King Kong movie that has been in the works for quite a while now, because that sounds really cool. It sounds really dumb, but it sounds really cool. I would rate Kong Skull Island a 7.75 out of 10. One last thing that I just wanted to mention, this was my favorite part of the movie, and that was the kind of moral dilemma about what the humans should do regarding Kong. And it was kind of interesting to see the different opinions and the sort of drama rise, and of course, being me, the sort of dramatic side of the movie and the controversial kind of discussions that they have was easily my favorite part. You know, it actually gave you something to think about, something to talk about. And though these sorts of themes were far from prominent, I appreciated that they were at least present. Anyway, like, comment, share, subscribe, let me know what you thought about Kong. I'm kind of surprised that people seem to be really liking it and people have been really excited for it, because I didn't really have that much anticipation for it before I saw it to begin with. But I did see it and it was fun, I liked it, it was fine. Anyway, that's the end of the video, because I always know how to end these.